In the following clip you're about to watch, a Blink security camera mounted high on a wall captures something strange in the hallway of a home late at night. A teenager noticed his cat acting strange. Not the usual zoomies or chasing something across the floor, but deliberately trying to get his attention, persistent enough that he eventually did what you're apparently supposed to do when a cat leads you somewhere. He followed it. The cat takes him straight to his brother and sister's room, and he goes in. And then, after a few moments inside, he comes back out with an urgency that tells you everything you need to know about what he found in there. Not a slow walk, not a casual exit, but the kind of sprint that your body produces when your brain has already decided that whatever is behind you is not something you want to be near. Now, the camera doesn't show us what he saw inside that room, and honestly, that might be worse, because what he said he saw was a 7-foot-tall black figure standing in there, in his sibling's room, in a house where a cat apparently knew it was there before any person did. In paranormal research, animals consistently demonstrate awareness of presences that humans can't perceive, registering something in the electromagnetic or sensory range that we lost access to somewhere along the way. And a cat that leads someone directly to the room where an entity is standing isn't acting randomly, it's communicating. So what do you think? Was there something 7 feet tall waiting in that room? Or did the cat lead him somewhere? His imagination did the rest of the work. In this next clip, a night security guard is doing his rounds at work. Glass door in front of him. The kind of quiet, uneventful shift that makes up most of the job. He's been working this post long enough that he knows every sound and every shadow in that building, which is exactly why he started filming when he noticed something he couldn't explain. He flips the camera to the front-facing view, points it toward the glass door, and what he catches on the other side of that glass stops him cold. Watch.
Es solo un video. El video. ¿Alguien vio los dedos?
Right there at the handle of the door, fingers, visible through the glass, pressed against it from the outside, and then slowly, deliberately withdrawn, pulled back into the darkness, the way you'd pull your hand away if you suddenly realized you'd been seen. Not a smear, not a reflection, not light playing off the surface. Fingers, with the kind of slow, intentional movement that puts them in a completely different category from anything environmental. And this isn't the first time he's noticed something at that door. He makes that clear. This is just the first time he had a camera running when it happened. In paranormal research, liminal spaces like building entrances, lobbies, and glass thresholds are considered hotspots for activity precisely because they exist between two states, inside and outside, safe and exposed, known and unknown. And whatever presses itself against that boundary isn't lost or wandering, it's probing. So what do you think? Is something testing that door from the other side? Or does this guard have a very human problem he hasn't fully accounted for yet? In this next clip, a woman is home alone in her apartment during the day when her doorbell rings. Not once, but repeatedly, with no one on the other side. She's filming on her phone, walking slowly toward her front door, and you can already hear in the way she moves that this isn't her first time dealing with something like this. Her voice, cautious at first, calls out in French, asking if anyone's there. The hallway outside is completely empty. She checks the staircase. Nothing. Watch.
Y a quelqu'un?
The doorbell rings 3 times across less than a minute, and each time she opens that door, there's no one there. Not in the hallway, not on the stairs, not anywhere she can see. By the second ring, she sounds exhausted, muttering in French that she's sick of this, that she can't keep going through it. That detail is telling. This isn't shock. It's someone who's been worn down by repetition. Then the third ring hits, and the camera jerks violently as she lets out a sharp, terrified scream. There's something about the third ring that breaks her completely, maybe because she'd already confirmed the space was empty, and it rang anyway. Some believe this kind of recurring, disembodied doorbell activity is consistent with what paranormal researchers call a poltergeist, an entity associated less with haunting a location and more with directing its energy toward a specific person, often escalating over time. Skeptics would say a faulty wireless doorbell could explain it. But a faulty doorbell doesn't explain why she sounds like someone who's been fighting this battle alone for a very long time. So what do you think she's actually dealing with? The following videos appear to be captured by a group of men conducting what looks like a paranormal investigation inside a cluttered, dimly lit room, the kind of space that already feels charged before anything unusual happens, with old stained walls, worn furniture, and objects arranged almost as if they've been placed there intentionally. The men are speaking Romanian throughout, and at one point, one of them can be heard reciting what sounds like a religious confession, solemn, almost liturgical, which sets a tone that's hard to shake. Watch.
Mărturisesc că sunt vinovat focului de veci, viermilor neadormiți.
Uai de mine! Uai de mine, ce-a fost asta?
Oi, să învârtesc ca un...
Uai de mine, ai văzut?
Doi, să învârtesc.
Mamă, frate, ce-a fost asta?
Uite așa să învârtesc ca un...
Vai de mine, dacă l-am... Vai, Leo, ce-a fost asta? Mamă, frate, am prins-o pe cameră, jur.
Oi, hai-te mai că... Viermilor neadormiți.
Uai de mine! Uai de mine, ce-a fost asta?
A wooden chair in the adjacent room violently tips over backwards with a loud crash, with no visible person anywhere near it, and the men immediately erupt into panicked shouting, one of them yelling that the chair spun on its own, another asking what on earth just happened. The slow motion replay makes it even harder to dismiss, because you can see the full arc of the movement with nothing and no one initiating it. Some viewers think the prayer being recited at the exact moment of impact is the most unsettling detail, not because it's evidence of anything specific, but because it raises the question of whether something was already being invited in before the camera was even rolling. In Romanian folk tradition, reciting confessions aloud in a spiritually charged space is sometimes believed to provoke a response from entities that feed on guilt or unresolved spiritual debt. And if that chair moving was the beginning, what came next suggests it was far from over. Not long after, the activity shifted from a single object to something far more chaotic.
Gata, gata, adă farfurile repede. Adă repede farfurile.
Băi, în picior mi-o dat, măi.
Adă repede, fac, gata, opriți tot. Uite, 2 căni dat. Gata, opriți-vă. Opriți înregistrarea. Cu plăcere, da, da. Băi, băi, băi.
2 white ceramic mugs are violently thrown from a cabinet on the far side of the room, one shattering completely on the floor, sending shards and reddish liquid across a striped rug. And then just as the men start to collect themselves, a second loud bang sends another object flying, one of them saying it struck his leg. The men's dialogue is raw and unfiltered, someone telling them to stop recording, another voice responding, possibly from a device in the room, with pleasure. That detail alone stopped a lot of viewers cold. Whether it came from a spirit box or an electronic device picking up a stray signal, nobody has been able to confirm it. But the pattern is hard to ignore. First a chair, now mugs, thrown with enough force to shatter and injure, which is exactly the kind of escalation poltergeist activity tends to follow, starting with isolated movements and progressing steadily toward objects making contact with people. The men's reactions, the way they scramble, the way one of them just says, "Enough, stop everything," don't read as performance. They investigated anyway, Watch closely.
Îndrăznind aler la milostivirea ta cu frică și cu cutremur.
Cu cutremur, mă. Ia!
Cât am greșit ție.
Băi, fii atent.
Cu cuvântul vorbim de zi.
Tu ai de capul meu.
Oprește cu
Ia, că-o căzut tot. Ia, că-o căzut tot bastoanele, o căzut tot, băi, omule, băi. Ia bastonul. Ia bastonul din smântână, de unde? Că nu mai este niciun baston, nimic. Gata e. E gata e.
Ia vezi de și pune. Vezi, aici.
Nu, ai mă, să dea draci dacă e ceva, tu ești nebun.
Azi voi colo pe bastonul iar. Lasă un fiz de lui.
Nu e frate niciun baston,
Iar
nimic.
este, bag lumina pe partea asta.
Na,
Bagă și după aia, bagă și după asta.
na, că nu-i nimic.
Nimic, a?
Nimica, frate, dispără bastonul, iar gata.
Și de desubt acolo? Nimic. Nimic pe acolo, nimic.
Uite păpușa asta deșurată.
Și eu preotul.
Bă, uitați-o cu dulapul cum se mișcă singur, mă, frate, tu ești nebun. Ah! Unde-s, măi? Că nu e niciun baston. Uite. Uite ce țăpă ăsta, uite. Niciun baston, nimic. Uite. 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 Uite, cade bila jos, acum. Uite dulap, care se mișcă singur, uite, nu e legat cu nimic, uite. Uite. Voi sunteți nebuni, băi, noi când v-am zis că, băi, nu mai există, gata, încăpere. Nu mai există încăpere, ca să știți. Noi suntem numărul 1, suntem. Hai de mine, ce-a fost asta? Ce-a fost asta?
E jale, mâncați așa.
Stay calm. Stay calm. Stay calm.
Calm down.
O-dat cu ce-o dat.
Hai, Aureo, și stați calmi. Gata, terminat-o, hai.
Stai calm.
La bătaie pe tăi. Adă bastonul pe înapoi. Trebuie să fac carte aici, sunt portal, îmi trebuie. Portalul îmi trebuie.
E sub dulap baston.
Objects on a small wooden cabinet begin vibrating and sliding on their own before two walking canes, propped against the wall, are forcefully thrown to the floor. Then the entire cabinet jolts and shakes as if grabbed from beneath, and a sharp, unexplained bang erupts from somewhere off camera, sending the men stumbling backward. One of them mentions closing a portal, which suggests they weren't just observing, but had been actively attempting some form of spiritual communication beforehand. And if something had been deliberately summoned, the escalating violence of these responses starts to feel less like random activity and more like something reacting with increasing irritation. The missing cane is arguably the strangest detail. Investigators can only account for one of the two that fell, and despite searching the area thoroughly, the second one never turns up on camera. A quiet footnote that somehow lands harder than the chaos around it. So what do you think? Was this group of men simply documenting a haunted space, or did they walk into that room and wake something up that had no interest in being observed? In this next clip, a woman is home alone at night, or at least she believes she is, when she notices something standing behind the frosted glass panel of her bathroom door. She's filming on her phone, her voice dropping to a hushed, anxious whisper as she explains in Spanish that she can see the shape from where she's standing, but the phone's reflection keeps getting in the way. She says she literally can't go to the bathroom in peace because of whoever or whatever is there. Then she moves through the house, down a dark hallway with light cutting in from a room at the far end, before showing her bedroom to prove a point. Watch.
Yo de acá lo veo, pero el celular le da el reflejo. Literalmente no puedo ir al baño tranquila porque está él. Y no hay nadie en la casa. Nadie de nadie está en la casa.
Through the textured glass of that door, you can make out a dark, humanoid silhouette, a head and shoulders, motionless, standing just on the other side. She walks the camera through the rest of the house, showing an empty bedroom, an unmade bed, no one anywhere. No one is in the house. she says. No one at all. That tension between what she sees and what should logically be there is hard to shake. Some viewers think it's a shadow cast by an object or a trick of the light bouncing off the frosted glass. Others aren't so sure because the shape is too specific, the rounded head, the width of the shoulders, to easily dismiss. That alone is unsettling. But what makes the second clip arguably worse is how calm everything is before it happens. Her and her husband are in bed watching television, relaxed, covered in blankets when this happens.
En el mejor de los casos, la hemorragia se absorbe. No continuará la hemorragia y hará que el cerebro se inflame. ¿Qué significa eso?
The blanket covering the man's left shoulder is suddenly yanked downward with a sharp, forceful tug. Fast, violent, and completely without explanation. And a distinct swooshing sound goes with it. He flinches immediately, looking down toward his right. She turns her head in the same direction. There's no one else in the frame. Some believe what was caught is classic poltergeist behavior, physical interference with objects in an otherwise calm domestic space, the kind of activity that tends to escalate when ignored. Skeptics will point to the static camera and suggest it was staged, but the couple's reaction is immediate and looks genuinely startled. Whether these two clips are connected or not, they both carry the same unsettling thread, the idea that something might be sharing a space that's supposed to be private. And like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. What would you do if you started seeing shapes behind closed doors in your own home? In the following footage, a Reddit user known as Melodic District 264 captures a series of events in what appears to be a service corridor or a storage section of an apartment complex. According to the uploader, he only began recording after hearing a distinct, violent sound while his back was turned. The sound of a heavy, yellow cable being smacked against the wall by an unseen force. He decided to investigate the source of the noise, venturing into the hallway with his phone camera ready. What he captures is a manifestation of movement that is difficult to explain through natural drafts or structural settling. Take a look.
Nigga, something just smacked the fuck. Yo, nigga, what I say, nigga? I mean, I ain't that scary, but no mama is.
The footage shows a yellow cable suddenly tensioned and whipped against the wall with enough force to create an audible crack. In an area like this, one might look for a logical explanation, such as a localized gust of wind, but the way the cable is pulled back before the snap suggests a deliberate physical grip. Furthermore, as the camera pans toward the shadows at the end of the corridor, the atmosphere feels heavy, as if the camera is capturing a residual energy left behind in the bowels of the building. The uploader was so disturbed by the physical nature of this manifestation that he shared the footage seeking an explanation for the escalating activity. While skeptics might suggest a hidden line or a snag in the building's infrastructure, the speed and isolation of the movement remain baffling. Is it possible that the utility areas of buildings, often neglected and empty, can play host to this kind of unsettling activity? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In December of 2025, Daisy Summer shared a series of distress calls from her home. According to Daisy, the atmosphere in her house had shifted significantly, characterized by peculiar sounds echoing through the halls during the late night hours. The following footage captures her attempt to document the anomaly after a particularly unsettling encounter while she was getting ready for work. Her distress is palpable as she recounts seeing something in her bathroom that defied logic. Keep your eyes on the shadow extending from behind the bathroom door.
Holy shit, I was just getting ready for work and I freaking saw something in my bathroom that scared the freaking shit out of me. I don't know what it was, but it looked like a ghost. Like literally, I think I just saw a ghost. I want to get out of here. I want to get out of my house. I'm so scared. It was like right there where those shadows are. Those are shadows from the towel right there. But there was like a shadow right there where those other shadows are. And it looked like a person. It looked like a ghost. Like right there. Oh shit. Holy fuck! Ah!
You can see a dark, elongated mass is visible near the floor, seemingly separate from the natural shadows cast by the surrounding furniture. While some viewers initially suggested it was merely a trick of the light, the escalation occurs toward the very end of the clip. Just as she pans away, a dark protrusion, resembling a head or a limb, briefly extends from behind the doorframe into the hallway before she bolts in terror. The movement is fluid and lacks the jagged quality of a digital artifact or a camera glitch. In the realm of paranormal research, this behavior is often associated with shadow people, entities that are frequently reported as peeking from corners or lurking in the periphery of vision. Many researchers believe these manifestations are not just residual hauntings, but sentient entities that feed off of high-frequency human emotions, specifically fear and anxiety. By peeking out and then retreating, the entity may be deliberately testing Daisy, gauging her reaction to maximize the emotional output it can draw from her. Some viewers in the comments suggested that Daisy's sheer terror might actually be strengthening the entity's presence. One user suggested that instead of fleeing, she should have met the anomaly with anger or annoyance, theorizing that by removing the food source of fear, the entity would lose its ability to manifest physically. What do you think? Was this a temporary overlap of dimensions, or a predatory entity thriving on the atmosphere of a frightened household? This next clip explores the thin line between grief and the supernatural, where a house once filled with life suddenly feels hollow. In late 2024, Tonya Richardson began documenting what she believes is the residual energy of her beloved Maltese, Frenchie, who had passed away 5 months prior. Tonya explains that Frenchie had a very specific habit. She loved to burrow under the blankets and playfully chase Tonya's feet. What began as a memory soon manifested as a physical occurrence that Tonya captures in real time. The setting is her quiet bedroom, where the blankets begin to shift in a manner that is uncannily familiar. Take a look.
Y'all see that? My feet are literally right here. My blanket will just randomly move like that. That is so weird. Stop! Y'all, my hair standing on my arms because that's creepy. It does this about the same time every morning. So I'm not sure what it is trying to tell me something, but it's creepy.
The movement captured is both fluid and localized. You can see the duvet bunching and sliding as if a small weight is pressing against it from underneath. While a draft or a mechanical fan might cause a light ripple, this particular motion has a distinct hopping quality. The blanket doesn't just flutter, it appears to be nudged by a deliberate physical force. It's an unsettling sight, yet Tonya speaks to the empty space with a sense of comfort, convinced that Frenchie has returned to her favorite spot. However, as the days passed, the activity didn't just remain a comfort, it became more frequent and intense. Skeptics often point to simple explanations like hidden pets or household fans, but Tonya was determined to rule out any logical interference. To provide context for the escalation, she decided to pull back the veil and show exactly what or what isn't behind the movement.
My baby come to see me again. Frenchie, what you doing? What you doing? Are you gonna play tonight? Are you gonna play? There you are. Hello. Hello? What you doing? What you doing, baby? You trying to find the right spot? Just not finding the right spot, huh? Oh, look. Nothing under the bed. Look. Nothing under the sheets. Nothing there. Nothing there.
The most baffling part of this footage occurs when Tonya lifts the heavy comforter. As she clears the area, the movement stops instantly, and the space beneath the sheets is completely empty. She even goes as far as to show the area under the bed, proving there are no other pets or hidden devices that could be tethered to the fabric. The ghostly weight seems to vanish the moment it's observed directly, a pattern often noted in poltergeist-style manifestations, where an entity reacts to direct human focus. In the paranormal community, some believe these fur baby hauntings are beautiful signs of a bond that transcends death. Others, however, take a more cautious approach. There is a theory that certain opportunistic entities can mimic the behaviors of a lost loved one or pet to gain trust and lower a person's spiritual guard. By imitating the kangaroo jumping style Frenchie was known for, an anomaly could potentially root itself in the home by feeding off the residents' grief and longing. Whether this is a heartwarming visit from a loyal companion or a more deceptive manifestation remains a topic of heavy debate among viewers. Some find the footage profoundly moving, while others feel an instinctual dread at the sight of the empty sheets shifting on their own. I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. This next clip highlights just how quickly a familiar space can turn hostile. In January of 2026, Perry and her roommate were at home alone when they were startled by a series of inexplicable sounds. The atmosphere within the apartment shifted from relaxed to high alert in a matter of seconds, as the duo began to suspect they weren't as alone as they thought. The footage captures their immediate reaction, and the sheer urgency in their body language is undeniable. Take a look.
I'm recording. Wait. Do you hear that? Can you check the security footage? Oh no. What is it?
The panic is palpable as they move through the apartment, whispering and checking corners. Rather than risk exiting through the front door, where the sounds seemed to originate, the two roommates were so convinced of an intruder that they opted to flee through a window instead. However, the mystery only deepened when they later reviewed their security footage. A motion-sensing camera pointed at the kitchen began to track an invisible presence. The software identifies a person in the empty space just above a robot vacuum cleaner, tracking the anomaly as it moves across the floor. Yet nothing is visible to the human eye. The escalation continued throughout the night, with the roommates capturing further evidence that suggests something far more complex than a simple intruder. In this follow-up, the camera captures the heavy front door mysteriously unlatching and swinging open of its own accord. There is no visible hand on the handle, and the roommates are nowhere near the entrance. In the paranormal world, this kind of activity is often categorized as a skinwalker manifestation or a highly active poltergeist, particularly when senses are triggered by empty space. Some viewers pointed out that the way the sensor tracked the movement above the vacuum suggests an entity with a distinct height and mass, even if it remains shrouded from the light spectrum. While skeptics might suggest a draft or a mechanical failure in the door latch, the combination of the roommate's genuine fear and the camera's technical detection of a person makes this case particularly baffling. Could there be something dwelling within the walls of the apartment, or perhaps a transient entity that followed one of them home? If your security system alerted you to a person in an empty room, would you stay to see if it manifested, or would you be the first one out the window? This next clip takes us inside a veterinary hospital, a place often charged with high stakes and deep emotional transitions. In late 2025, a veterinary professional named Renee shared footage that has left many in the medical community questioning what happens in these clinics after hours. Renee explains that while staying late to care for a sick colleague's pet and a puppy battling parvovirus, she and her co-worker, Tessia, were interrupted by a sound that simply didn't belong. The atmosphere in the treatment room becomes tense as a phantom vocalization echoes through the sterile environment. Take a look.
That's weird. Where is that coming from? It don't sound like it's coming from. Okay, so you still want to do banana bags, 15 mils an hour, head of starch, 4 mils an hour. It's coming from over this way. Alright. Medication, veterinizol, 15 mils BID, IV. Wait, is it scarlet? Wait. I cleansed it off before getting meds. Is somebody dropping it off up there? What's coming from up there? They may have done that when they switched the bag. Is it the new bag free? No. Alright, who's gonna get it? Help me. It's in the lobby. It's coming from the lobby. No, it's not. Where is that? It's not in here. What is that? What, phantom dolls? That's fucking weird. Is it Charles? You heard that, right? We all heard that. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. What did you hear? A dog keeps yapping. Is it Dakota? No. Look, it's coming from over here. Why don't you look in the front porch and make sure they didn't dump one or throw one in the pen outside or something? I didn't hear anything. You're not hearing that. Maria has heard it. I didn't hear it, no. You heard it, right? I heard it. I didn't hear it. It sounds like it's coming from this side. You can't hear it at IPA though, right? No. Look at that fence out there. Make sure somebody throw one in the fence. I heard nothing. I was like, what are y'all talking about? Yeah, that's a brand new bag. That's talking about it is. Yeah. That's I haven't heard it. I still haven't heard it. All three of us heard it. And it
As you can hear, a distinct, mournful canine cry fills the room. Renee notes that there were only 4 animals present at the time: a cat, an elderly Great Dane, the sick puppy, and an old healer. None of them were vocalizing, yet the sound is clear and persistent. In paranormal research, hospitals and clinics are often cited as hotspots for residual energy, places where intense life and death moments leave a permanent echo. Some believe this could be the spirit of a recently euthanized pet, perhaps still seeking comfort in a familiar setting. However, the activity at this hospital isn't limited to just sound. Renee later shared surveillance footage from the kennel area that suggests a much more physical presence. In this chilling follow-up, watch the latch of one of the cages closely. Without any visible interference, the metal lever is seen rising on its own. When the door doesn't swing open immediately, it appears to be pulled outward by an unseen force, allowing the animal inside to potentially wander out. There are no shadows, no reflections of people in the room, and no mechanical failures that would explain a multi-step process like unlatching and then pulling a door. This level of physical manipulation often points to an intelligent haunting, an entity capable of interacting with its environment to achieve a specific goal. While skeptics might suggest a loose latch or a vibration from the building, the deliberate nature of the opening is hard to dismiss. Is it possible that the bond between humans and animals is so strong that even in death, these patients stay behind to navigate the only place that tried to save them? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. If you were working a night shift and heard a phantom cry from an empty kennel, would you shrug it off as a residual echo, or would you start looking for a new clinic? In this clip you're about to watch, a mum and her husband had been noticing things around their house that just didn't add up. Small stuff at first, the kind of thing you brush off and blame on stress or a long day. But when it keeps happening, you stop brushing it off and you start setting up cameras. They installed one the night before this was filmed, and it took less than 24 hours to catch something. She gets up from the little bouncy ball seat to put her baby down for a nap. A completely ordinary Tuesday afternoon moment. And that's when the ball starts moving on its own. No one near it, no draft, no pet bumping into it. Just a slow, deliberate sway that has absolutely no business happening in an empty room. Now here's what stands out the most. The movement isn't frantic or violent, it's almost calm, like whatever is in that house is just making its presence known, casual about it even. And that detail matters, because it tells us this isn't a one-time spike of energy. This is something comfortable, something that's been there long enough to feel at home. One thing that some paranormal researchers actually suggest in situations like this is acknowledging the presence out loud, letting it know you're aware of it, but firmly stating you want to be left alone. Some people swear by it. Whether it works consistently or not is a whole other conversation. But the fact that people reach for that strategy tells you something. Sometimes the most unsettling thing isn't the activity itself, it's the feeling that something is listening. And whatever is in this house, it's definitely listening, because the activity doesn't stop there. She's home alone this time when the camera picks up something that stops you cold right at the top of the footage. A male voice, clear enough to make you rewind it twice, says something that sounds exactly like, "Wash your hands with soap." That is a full sentence, spoken by a voice that has no physical body attached to it. And what makes it even more unnerving is how mundane it is. It's not a growl or a scream, it's instructions. Like something that used to live in that space is still going through the motions of daily life, completely unbothered by the fact that it's dead. This kind of EVP, where a disembodied voice speaks in plain, conversational language, is actually more commonly reported than people realize. There are accounts of people walking through a completely empty room and suddenly hearing a man's voice speak directly to them, close enough to feel like someone is standing right next to them. It never gets less terrifying, no matter how many times you hear it described. The third piece of footage is what really shifts this from active haunting to something potentially more layered. Her husband had just finished mounting a new camera in the hallway, and they were checking the angle on her phone when the camera picks up what sounds unmistakably like a child giggling. Her husband heard it with his own ears in real time. Their son was in his room playing, accounted for. But here's the detail that makes your skin crawl. His camera cut out at the exact moment the giggle was captured, and in the footage from his room, just seconds before, there's a faint whisper buried underneath the sound of him playing with his toys.
They'll pull on. Well, actually, I think they pull on their ears when they're teething, so we need to look it up. Nice. What? I don't know if he's discovered his ear and that's why he's playing with it, or if it hurts.
So what are we actually dealing with here? The combination of a calm, domestic presence moving objects, a male voice issuing mundane commands, and what sounds like a child's laughter points towards something layered, possibly multiple energies occupying the same space. In paranormal theory, a location that accumulates this kind of varied activity often acts as an anchor point, drawing in different residual imprints over time. But the fact that the son's camera cut out precisely during that giggle suggests something more intelligent than residual, something that's not just replaying the past, something that's aware of the cameras, aware of the family, and apparently fully settled in. So, what do you think? Is this family sharing their home with leftover echoes of the past, or is something far more intentional making itself comfortable in their house? In this next clip, Joe's mum told him back in 2019 that she was fighting demons in her house. And look, most of us would do exactly what Joe did, which is smile, nod, and quietly wonder if mum needs a vacation. But she wasn't asking him to take her word for it. She sent him footage, and whatever is in that video is very difficult to explain away. Up in the top right corner of the frame, there's a dark shape descending from the ceiling, not drifting, not floating, but coming down with a kind of slow, deliberate intention. Then she pans the camera away, and when she brings it back, it's gone, clean, like it was never there. But just when you're ready to chalk it up to a shadow or a trick of the light, it comes back.
In 2019, my mom said she was fighting demons in her apartment. I didn't believe her. She sent me video proof. Now someone tell me what in the grudge shit was going on here. I put picture at end of video, pause it, turn phone upside down and zoom in.
That reappearance is the detail that kills every rational explanation. Shadows don't leave and come back. Lens flares don't take a break and return on cue. Whatever this is, it's moving with awareness. In demonology, entities that descend from above rather than emerge from corners or doorways are considered particularly aggressive. They aren't wandering, they're approaching. The fact that Joe's mum used the word fighting and not experiencing tells you everything about what living in that house actually felt like. So, what do you think? Residual energy or something that came there with a purpose? This next clip was posted by a frightened mother, and you'll understand why the moment you watch it. But before you do, here's what you need to know. The little girl had already told her mom that someone was in the bedroom before any of this was recorded. Not something, someone. Specific enough that she grabbed her mom by the arm and asked her not to go in, not to open the door, not to even get close. What you're about to watch isn't a child being dramatic about the dark or spiraling over nothing. This is a little girl who has seen something, who knows exactly what she saw, and who is not willing, under any circumstances, to let her mother walk back into that room.
Blakey, you okay?
There's nothing you can do or say to change that. I love you.
Do you want me to go open the door? Why? No?
Sucks for you.
Okay. Okay, I'm honestly freaking the fuck out and I don't know what to do. Just a couple minutes ago, I got up and I closed my door because she kept pointing to my room saying, Mommy, Mommy, someone's over there. And she was terrified. She was terrified. Of course, freaking me out. So I went over there and she just said, no, Mommy, come here, Mommy, sit, Mommy, don't go over there. And so I called the dog and I closed the motherfucking door. And as you can see, dude, she's still terrified. She's still terrified. She doesn't want me going over there. She doesn't want me opening the door. Dude, I'm terrified.
The mom tries to reason with her, ask if she can just go open the door, keep it quick, nothing to worry about. And the answer is a firm, unwavering no. The kind of no that doesn't come from imagination. It comes from certainty. From a child who has already made up her mind about what's in there and doesn't understand why the adults around her aren't listening. But that was only the beginning of what this family captured that night. Because eventually, the mum does what every parent torn between protecting their child and finding a rational explanation has to do. She gets up. She tells her daughter she's going to check the room, keeps her voice steady and calm the way parents do when they're trying hard not to transfer their own fear onto their kid. And the little girl's response is immediate. She hides her face. And then she starts to cry. The kind of crying that comes from genuine terror, from watching someone you love walk towards something you know is there and being completely powerless to stop them.
Blakey, Mommy's gonna go open the door, okay? I'll be right back. It's okay. I'll be right back. And now she's hiding her face. Dude, what the fuck? It's okay, baby. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, tell me I'm not... What do I do?
Now here's what you can't explain away. There is a belief that runs through almost every culture that has ever documented paranormal encounters, that children, particularly young ones, exist in a state of perception that adults lost somewhere along the way. That in growing up, in learning to categorize and rationalize and explain the world, we close off something we were born with. And that what looks like an overactive imagination in a frightened child is sometimes something else entirely. A clarity that the adults around them simply no longer have the equipment to access. Children that age don't sustain manufactured fear. They move on, get distracted, and forget. But this little girl didn't forget. Hours later, she still wouldn't let her mum anywhere near that room, a room she normally runs into without a second thought. Whatever she saw in there, it left a mark. So what do you think? Was there something in that room that only she could see? Or is this a case of a child's instincts picking up on something the rest of us have long since lost the ability to feel? In this next clip, we're stepping inside Willard Library in Evansville, Indiana, one of the oldest public libraries in the state, built in 1885, and by most accounts, never fully emptied of its original occupants. The Stillroom Society, a group dedicated to investigating real hauntings and unexplained encounters, brought their equipment here on January 17th, 2026, and what they captured is exactly the kind of thing that makes a location's reputation stick. The library's most famous resident is known as the Grey Lady, an apparition that staff and visitors have been reporting for decades, wandering the corridors, triggering cold spots, flickering lights, and sending books off shelves with no one nearby to explain it. She's become so embedded in the identity of this place that people plan trips specifically hoping to cross her path.
I can hear you back there. Why don't you show yourself to me? I know this is your home, and I mean you no disrespect. I'm just curious about you, like why you're here and who you are. My name's Missy. I'd love to know more about you.
Now here's what makes Willard different from your standard allegedly haunted building. This isn't a location that earned its reputation from one dramatic incident and a few embellished retellings. The activity here has been consistent, documented, and reported independently by people who had no idea others had experienced the exact same things before them. That's the detail that separates a legend from something that actually warrants investigation. Cold spots in fixed locations, lights responding to no electrical fault, books that don't just fall, they fall from locked cases. The Grey Lady isn't a story someone made up to fill a slow news cycle. She's a pattern, and the Stillroom Society didn't have to wait long for the library to remind them why they came. The building is completely empty during the second part of this footage. No staff, no visitors, no one moving through those corridors, and yet the cameras pick up sounds that have no business being there. Knocks, shuffling. The kind of audio that your brain immediately tries to assign a source to and comes up empty every single time.
If you peek out, I'll be able to see you.
We're up in the genealogy part of the library, and
What's significant here isn't just the sounds themselves, it's the consistency of where they're coming from and the fact that they respond to the investigator's presence. A truly empty building doesn't generate directional noise. When a location this old starts producing that kind of audio with no physical source attached, you're likely dealing with residual energy so deeply embedded in the architecture that it practically has its own schedule. Over 140 years of footsteps, whispered conversations, and human emotion soaked into the walls and the floors. Some locations don't just hold history, they replay it. So what do you think? Is the Grey Lady still making her rounds through the stacks, or is Willard Library simply too old and too full of the past to ever really go quiet? In the following clip you're about to watch, we take a midnight stroll through Tokyo's Aoyama Cemetery, a location legendary for its haunting history and ghost sightings. Most people are completely terrified to even step foot on these grounds after dark, but one brave explorer decided to walk through the shadows to see what the fuss was all about. While navigating the dark pathways, he suddenly hears a distinct cat meowing that startles him in the quiet night. His reaction was quick as he pans the camera towards the cemetery. However, when he watched the footage back, his camera picked up absolutely no trace of the feline's voice. But the missing audio isn't the most disturbing part of the walk. If you look carefully, when the camera turns into the cemetery area, a dark, shadow-like entity can be seen lingering amidst the tombstones. He was completely oblivious to its presence in the moment, not until people in the comments pointed his attention to it. So what exactly was stalking him from the dark, and why did it mask itself? In paranormal research, entities often use auditory trickery, known as phantom sounds, to disorient or distract a person. This could be an earthbound spirit, perhaps a residual energy of someone buried there, projecting the familiar sound of a meowing cat to lower his guard. By mimicking a harmless domestic animal, the spirit may have been trying to siphon his kinetic energy or lure him off the path while its shadow form observed him from the safety of the graves. Was this just a lonely soul using a familiar sound to draw a living connection? Or was a predatory entity trying to lure him deeper into the dark? In this next clip, an explorer decides to investigate a reported ghost sighting in the dense woods near his home. Equipped with a borrowed color night-shot camera, he ventures out alone after dark to see if there is any truth to the local rumors. The initial atmosphere is completely still, but as he scans the tree line, he catches sight of a strange, pale anomaly shifting between the trees. He tries his best to steady his hands and zoom in for a better look, but whatever the entity is, it dissolves back into the shadows just as quickly as it appeared.
Where's it gone? There was something there. Sure, I saw something. Where is it? It was around here somewhere. It's here somewhere, but it's gone. I don't know where it is.
But the story didn't end in the forest. On a separate night, the creator experienced a deeply unsettling scenario. The realization that whatever presence you disturb in the wild might just follow you back to your personal space. While checking on a sudden disturbance in his own backyard, his camera picks up another pale, ambiguous figure moving stealthily behind the bushes. In paranormal research, a sequence like this is heavily associated with a concept known as spiritual attachment. The theory suggests that entities aren't always anchored to a single geographic location. Instead, when an individual enters their domain with a high level of hyperfocus, anticipation, and adrenaline, that intense emotional output can act like a beacon. The entity is thought to absorb this energy, using it as fuel to latch onto the investigator and follow them straight back to their home property. However, this footage has sparked an intense debate, and the skeptics make some incredibly strong arguments against it. Those who believe the video is fake point out that the heavy camera, shaking, sudden blurs, and rapid panning are classic techniques used to mask video edits or hide a practical effect, like a person in light clothing. Furthermore, early night shot cameras were notorious for heavy compression, meaning a stray reflection or a common nocturnal animal could easily be distorted into a ghostly shape. On the flip side, there are reasons to believe it could be genuine. Defenders of the clip point out the organic way the figure blends behind the complex, overlapping layers of branches, a feat that would have been remarkably difficult to cleanly render with consumer-grade digital editing software back when this was originally filmed. They also argue that the ambient audio and the raw tension in his breathing sound entirely unscripted. This leaves us with a classic supernatural dilemma. Was this just a clever piece of doctored footage meant to create an internet hoax? Or did this man genuinely capture an entity that followed him home from the woods? I'll let you decide. In this next clip, an Uber Eats driver named Marcus captures a bizarre chain of events while making a late-night delivery right next to a cemetery. While on his route, he begins hearing a heavy tapping and vibrating sound against his passenger window. With no one visible outside, he pulls over to check the exterior of his vehicle and see if something is caught underneath. While investigating outside, Marcus points his camera toward a discarded shoe sitting on a piece of cardboard by the curb, which suddenly shifts on its own. He quickly gets back into the driver's seat, but the situation escalates further when the passenger door unlatches and swings wide open completely by itself. What makes this sequence even more unusual is what Marcus discovered only after reviewing his dashcam footage later on. The interior camera shows a faint, translucent anomaly hopping directly through the closed passenger window just before the window began vibrating.
Doing my usual Uber eating, dropping off some food. I swear this well address gotta be sent by a cemetery. If I see this again, I'm just not gonna accept it. I'll tell you that. Sure I'm not tripping. No. Make sure I'm not tripping. So, I'm dropping off the DoorDash. The Uber eating. I can't even get my daggone company straight. And you're gonna see a vibration. Like, see tapping at the window. You're definitely gonna hear it. What the fuck? What the fuck was... Oh, hell no. Hell no. Fuck. What the? Why? What the? No, no. Oh hell, what the fuck was shit? Shit, I mean, shit. Oh hell, no, hell, no, nope, no, no, no.
In paranormal research, proximity to a cemetery significantly increases the likelihood of encountering active spiritual energy. Graveyards are massive repositories of residual human history, and entities lingering in these spaces are frequently drawn to the bright headlights and kinetic energy of passing vehicles. The anomaly caught on the interior camera points toward a deliberate manifestation attempt. Because spirits lack a physical form, they must manipulate nearby objects, like the roadside shoe, or generate intense kinetic force to make their presence known, which directly explains the sudden, heavy vibrations on the window glass. Furthermore, unlatching and opening the heavy car door suggests the entity was executing a clear progression of activity, moving from outside disturbances to a physical invasion of Marcus's personal space. By utilizing the ambient energy of the environment, the presence managed to cross structural boundaries that would normally keep the physical world separate from the spiritual. So, do you think Marcus unwittingly invited a restless soul into his passenger seat? Or was this cemetery entity actively looking for a way to escape the confines of the graveyard? In this next clip, we look at a video captured by parents during a normal family gathering. At the start, a toddler is sitting calmly until his attention is drastically pulled toward the center of the room. His eyes clearly track an invisible path left and right, and he begins pointing towards something, following a trajectory that his parents completely miss. He then begins imitating the unseen presence, gesturing as if interacting with something right in front of him.
Non! Il est drôle avec son petit nom, hein? Il est vraiment dans ScaryBub 2, là, tu sais. Qu'est-ce que tu checkes là? C'est des fantômes, mon amour! Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Hein? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Quoi? Yes? Quoi? Parle! 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 Non! C'est comme, c'est moi à piste, si. Je vais parler, mais ça me tente. Je m'inquiète pas, tu vas parler en tabarouette. Ah maintenant, on va dire, Colin, t'en rappelles-tu quand il parlait pas? Est-ce qu'on était bien, hein? Parce qu'il va me poser plein de questions tout le temps. Tout. Pourquoi papa ça? Pourquoi papa ça? Pourquoi maman ça? Pourquoi maman ça? On va bénir le temps où il faisait juste encore des sons.
Alex, il est tard.
C'est bien, même, on va voir juste l'armoire là.
Non, on le voyait super bien.
Il a caché là. Il y a une caché qui est filmée là.
Là, tu peux te filmer là. Tu peux te filmer encore.
J'ai oublié. Non. Oh ouais. Arrêtez pas de manger l'assiette, allez l'eau. Oh.
Tes dents.
Là, comment on va la stabiliser, la laveuse à vaisselle? C'est quoi que tu vas mettre là? Tu vas les mettre pour la figer là? Moi, il y a personne qui t'avait donné à manger, hein?
Young children are widely believed to possess a heightened sensitivity to spiritual phenomena. The underlying theory suggests that toddlers have not yet developed the psychological filters or rational skepticism that adults use to dismiss unusual sensory data, leaving their perception open to subtle environmental shifts and entities. In this instance, the child's reaction is not a gradual drift into daydreaming, but a sudden and deliberate engagement with a specific spot in the room. His physical tracking and imitation imply he is observing a clear visual stimulus. This could indicate an interaction with a residual energy signature or an intelligent spirit, perhaps a deceased relative, visiting the household. What do you think caught this toddler's eye? Was it just a sudden burst of a vivid imagination, or are young children genuinely capable of seeing things adults cannot? In this next clip, a family grieving a loss experiences a beautiful and bizarre moment of farewell. The on-screen text translates to, "If they hadn't recorded it, we wouldn't have believed it," as the family describes their belief that their deceased sister used a white, star-shaped foil balloon to navigate the house one last time to say goodbye and apologize to her brother. As you watch, the balloon moves down the hallway and enters the bedroom, where the brother is sitting quietly on the edge of the bed. Instead of drifting aimlessly toward the ceiling or being erratically pushed by a draft, the balloon appears to travel along a deliberate path, hovering directly in front of the young man. The most compelling detail occurs toward the end of the footage, when the brother suddenly flinches and stands up quickly from the bed, reacting as if someone had just physically touched him. Watch. Lightweight objects like balloons are frequently reported as mediums used by spirits to communicate, as they require very little kinetic energy to manipulate or guide. The family firmly interprets this event as a genuine spiritual farewell, dedicating the footage with the message, "Siempre vas a estar con nosotros, mi reina," which translates to, "You will always be with us, my queen." So what do you think? Was this an extraordinary coincidence involving indoor air currents, or did a grieving brother receive a tangible, physical sign from his sister? In this clip you're about to watch, a real estate photographer was doing what he's paid to do, walking through an old house, documenting the space, keeping it professional. But from the moment he stepped inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Not the vague, general unease you get from an unfamiliar place, something more specific than that. Something that followed him from room to room like a second heartbeat he couldn't account for. He comes down the staircase, camera rolling, and that's when it happens. Behind him, you can hear the distinct sound of footsteps, and a shadow moves down the stairs like something is following him, step by step, unhurried, unbothered by the fact that he might turn around at any moment. He's the only person in that house, There is no one above him on that staircase, no one on the landing, no one anywhere in the building. And yet, whatever cast that shadow came down those stairs the same way a person would, with weight, with rhythm, and with intention, like it had walked that staircase 100 times before and had every right to keep doing it. Whatever this was, it was aware of him. It was moving with purpose, and it was comfortable enough in that space to make no effort to hide. So he does what any rational person tries to do. He keeps working, stays focused, and leaves his camera running while he moves through the house. Again, while he's out of frame, the door swings violently open and slams shut completely on its own. Not a slow drift, not a gentle nudge from a cross breeze, but a full, aggressive open and shut that takes real force to produce. The kind of force that doesn't come from air pressure or a settling foundation. In paranormal research, doors are considered one of the most significant objects an entity can interact with because they represent barriers between rooms, between safety and exposure, between the known and the unknown. When an entity manipulates a door with that level of aggression, it isn't residual and it isn't accidental. That is intelligent activity. That is something making a deliberate statement about who actually controls that space. The photographer came in to do a job, but whatever lives in that house had already decided it wasn't interested in having a guest, and it wanted that point made clearly. But what is drawing this kind of energy to this specific location in the first place? That answer might be buried in the ground just outside. There's an old belief, one his dad apparently held firmly, that certain flowers only grow where a body has been laid in the earth, that something in the process of decomposition changes the soil in a way that pulls specific plants to the surface like a quiet, botanical confession. Whether that's rooted in something scientifically observable or purely in generations of folklore, people have quietly used it as an informal marker for forgotten graves for a very long time. He goes outside and sure enough, there they are, just sitting in the ground, quiet and unassuming, in a place that suddenly feels a lot heavier than it did before, like the air itself is pressing down a little harder right there. And then he goes back. Because once you've seen something like that, once the weight of what it might mean settles in, you can't just leave it alone. He returns to the area, this time pushing further out to the field on the abandoned farm nearby, looking for grave markers, physical evidence of lives that history decided weren't worth recording, people swallowed up by time and neglect, and a landscape that kept growing over them without pause. And that's when the field starts talking back. Not wind, not an echo bouncing off the tree line. Voices, rising up out of a stretch of land that has been left to rot and be forgotten for years, as if the ground itself had been waiting for someone to come close enough to hear it. And here is where the full picture snaps into focus. The shadow that followed him down the stairs. The door that slammed with enough force to make a point. The flowers growing silently over what might be unmarked graves. And now voices surfacing from a field that may be sitting on top of people who never got a proper burial, never got a headstone, never got anyone coming back to remember them. In paranormal theory, locations built near or above unacknowledged remains act as anchor points, concentrating energy, creating the exact atmospheric conditions that allow entities not just to exist, but to grow stronger over time, pulling more of the dark in around them like a wound that never closed. That house isn't haunted, In spite of what's outside it, it may be haunted because of it. Whatever is moving through those rooms, slamming doors, and casting shadows on staircases could be tethered to what's buried just beneath the surface of that field, fed by it, grounded by it, and completely unbothered by whoever walks through the front door. So what do you think? Is the entity in that house a lost soul anchored to the forgotten graves just outside its walls? Or is something far darker using those remains as a source of power? In this next clip, a singer going by long-winded music on TikTok was doing something completely ordinary, filming a quick video to invite people out to watch her band perform, the kind of casual, throwaway content that takes 30 seconds to record and means nothing beyond the post itself. Except that somewhere between hitting record and hitting post, she captured something in the closet directly behind her that she almost certainly didn't notice in the moment. There's a shadow, a shape, something with enough density to register on camera, shifting inside that closet while she's standing right there, completely unaware. Not a hanger swaying, not a curtain catching air, a figure moving with the kind of slow deliberateness that puts it in a completely different category from anything you'd want to explain away.
I just want to know how I can get people to come to our shows. How do we get people to come to our shows? No, I'm just trying to understand. Tell me it doesn't look like there's someone right here. There's not.
And that's what makes this one stick. She wasn't ghost hunting. She wasn't in an abandoned building. She wasn't even trying to capture anything beyond a 30-second promo for her band. She was in her own space, in what should have been the most familiar and safe environment she knows. And something was standing in her closet, watching her film. In paranormal research, entities that appear in domestic spaces during completely mundane moments are considered far more unsettling than anything caught on a dedicated investigation, because it means there's no threshold, no special condition required for them to show up. So what do you think? Was that something passing through, or does long-winded music have a permanent audience she never agreed to? In this next clip, we're inside a small tailor shop in a marketplace late at night, long after the surrounding stalls have gone dark and quiet. The shopkeeper is still at it, head down, focused on his work, completely alone. Or at least, that's what he thinks, because the CCTV catches something that stops the whole scene cold. His reaction tells you everything. In paranormal research, markets and commercial spaces are considered high-energy locations. Decades of human traffic, emotion, and history soaked into the ground beneath them. Low-level kinetic activity, like this, small objects moving with quiet intention, is often one of the first signs of a presence making itself known. Not dramatic enough to cause panic, but deliberate enough that you can't quite shake it. So was something in that shop trying to get his attention? Or is there a less supernatural explanation just outside the camera's frame? In this next clip, we follow a mother named Sam who had been living with a persistent, creeping feeling for a long time. The kind that sits just below the surface. The sense that something in her own home was watching her, that she was never quite as alone as she should have been. She couldn't pin it down, couldn't point to anything specific until she accidentally caught something on camera while filming her twin boys playing. The toddlers are running into a bedroom, completely in their own world, and buried in the audio is a distinct, disembodied woman's voice whispering, "Shh, quiet."
¿Qué pasó? ¿Quién está en el cuarto?
Sam confirmed she was completely alone in the house with her children at the time, no other adult present, no television running in the background, nothing that accounts for that voice. In paranormal research, this is a textbook EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon where an entity draws on the high-energy chaos of playing children to push itself into the audible range and make contact. Kids that age generate exactly the kind of frantic, unfiltered kinetic energy that entities seem to be able to use as a bridge. But the specific choice of words is what makes this one linger. Why tell them to be quiet? Some investigators believe domestic spirits fall back into old behavioral patterns, disciplining out of habit like they still have authority over the space. Others take a darker view that something was trying to hush the boys specifically to avoid being picked up on the recording. So what do you think? Is this a protective presence watching over those kids, or something that very much preferred to stay hidden? In this next clip, we're with a man named David who is working alone in a house, a renovation job, just him and his tools, in a space he has the only key to. No one else is supposed to be there. No one else can get in. And yet from pretty early on, it becomes obvious that David has company he didn't clock in with. You can see small, light footsteps moving through the space, the unmistakable pattern of a child walking.
Okay, so my last video wasn't too long, so I didn't press a 10-minute icon, but anyways, I'm just getting into work, right? Nobody in this unit, I'm the only one besides the owner with the key, and the owner lives all the way in New York. I'm in Oakland, California. So this unit had a fire a few years back. This was a little girl's room. This was her room. And I'm like lost for words right now, sorry. Like, crashed my bed, I'm getting chills, the hair standing up on my arms. But the girl that happened to pass away in this unit was 3 years old. Look at what the fuck I see on the ground. Those are not an adult-sized footprint going into the wall. This is where her bed was at, right here. I talked to the owner, I video called him and everything. And I've been here and little kids laughing. I mean, I just thought it was coming from outside, but it's like a little, I felt something go like this in my ear. And yeah, I hear all the activity coming from that closet and right here, but this really baffled me. Like I said, nobody else has the keys. There's no kids in here. I lock up everything. It's a 4-unit complex. Nobody's in here. Nobody been in here. There's an alarm system. So we got paranormal activity. Look at these little feet. Look at these little cute little feet. If you're in here, ghosts, I mean no harm. I'm Uncle Dave. You call me Uncle Dave. Just fixing up your room for you. Okay? But yeah, I believe in ghosts. So if you have anything paranormal, share it on Ghost. But man, I work in every environment, even if it's haunted, you know. But yeah, you know. But yeah, say something. If you hear some ghosts or whatever, or capture ghost activity, share it, man. Okay, peace out. God is love. See you later.
That detail alone changes the entire weight of this footage, because this isn't just unexplained audio in a random building. There is a specific child tied to a specific room in this specific house, and that is exactly where the sounds are coming from. David isn't speculating. He knows the history of the property, and you can hear in his voice that the sounds he's picking up are not surprising to him, so much as they are confirming something he probably already suspected. And then right near the end, a female voice comes through clearly, a hi, and then what sounds like bye, just seconds later, calm and deliberate, like something that wanted to be heard before it stepped back. But what makes this one travel beyond just David's experience is what happened after he posted the footage. People started texting him, saying that after watching the video, they were seeing footprints appearing in their own homes. In paranormal theory, certain entities are believed to be capable of moving through recorded media, using the footage as a channel to follow the signal wherever it plays. So, what do you think? Did David accidentally open a door that was never meant to be found? Or is the little girl in that room just happy that someone finally showed up? In the following clip you're about to watch, we see a group of friends are hanging out in a room, one of them on acoustic guitar, singing, "Everyone settled in for a relaxed evening with no reason to be anywhere else." Metallica poster on the wall, the kind of low-key night that feels completely ordinary from every angle. That's the setup, but watch the window on the left side of the room.
Λείπει μία χορδή. Δεν πειράζει, πάρε ένα
Άρα να παίξουμε ένα μαλακιά.
Τράπετε.
Παίξουμε ένα τραγούδι του δρόμου.
Ένα τραγούδι του δρόμου.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
Έλα ρε μαλάκα, πάμε.
A pale, blurry white figure passes by outside in the darkness. Briefly, just long enough to register. In paranormal research, figures observed through glass, windows, doors, mirrors, occupy a specific and deeply unsettling category because glass has long been considered a liminal surface, a boundary between the interior world and whatever exists outside of it. Cultures across history have treated reflective and transparent surfaces as thresholds, places where the barrier between the living and the dead runs thin enough for something to press through. A pale figure standing just outside a window at night, still enough to watch, close enough to see, that isn't just a jump scare. That's something positioning itself at exactly the kind of boundary it would need to be at. So what do you think? Is there something on the other side of that glass? Or is this just a very precise reminder of why we don't like looking out dark windows at night? In this next clip, a teenager is standing on a dark, unlit path at night, surrounded by dense foliage, speaking directly into his phone with a worried expression. The kind of look you get when something already feels off before you can explain exactly why. He'd been out late, filming on his own, and according to what he says, he'd just received a call and was trying to explain the situation to someone he calls Brother Han. His voice already edging toward panic, even in those opening seconds. Watch.
Tembak kita masuk, oi. Lelet tadi hosi, oi. Ada yang menelpon. Bangan, lagi tembak-tembak bangan, gitu ke ujung bangan. Aduh tembak-tembak.
Right there, in the deep darkness behind him, a tall, slender, pale, humanoid figure stands completely still on the path, barely visible without the highlight pointing it out. But once you see it, it's impossible to look past. The teenager himself seems to sense something, turning and scanning the darkness, even raising a second phone toward the figure as if to capture it more clearly. But he never fully sees what's already standing just feet away. Some viewers who follow similar cases from Southeast Asia immediately recognized the description, tall, pale, unmoving, and connected it to what Indonesian folklore calls a pokong, a spirit of the dead said to appear as a white shrouded figure bound at the feet and unable to rest until certain burial rites are completed. Others think it's simply someone standing on the path at night, but that explanation gets harder to hold onto when you consider how still it stands and how fast his panic escalates. The second clip follows a man in a cemetery at night, visibly shaken before he's even said a word, standing among green-tiled graves with the darkness pressing in from every direction. Take a look.
Apa challenge? Bisa, ini dekat, kan boleh. Mana apa challenge, soy? Mana ni aku cek? Kalau kau begitu hidup bilang seru ni cek. Kau bilang seru ni cek.
Behind him, framed between two graves, a tall, pale, white-clad figure stands completely motionless. It doesn't shift, doesn't turn, doesn't react to the man sitting just meters in front of it. He puts his hands on his head, sits down on the edge of a grave, and keeps looking toward the camera with wide, frightened eyes, asking, "What is that?" in a voice that's clearly not performing calm. The cemetery setting matters here, because in Malay and Indonesian traditions, tall, pale figures spotted among graves at night are frequently associated with kuntilanak or pontianak, female spirits tied to death and burial grounds, often described as appearing in white, standing still before making their presence violently known. Skeptics argue both this and the previous clip could be someone stationed in the background for effect, and the dramatic sound design added in post-production doesn't help the case for authenticity. But the figure's stillness is what unsettles people most. It doesn't perform, it just stands there, and that somehow makes it worse. In the third clip, a man is sitting on the ground in what appears to be another cemetery at night, reddish-purple plants rising behind him, white grave markers visible in the row beyond. He's looking at his phone, expression heavy, the way someone looks when they're already on edge and trying to stay composed. Listen closely.
Banyak oi. Tep boy.
Before anything moves, the audio hits first, a wave of high-pitched, frantic wailing tears through the night, a sound that blends a woman screaming with what resembles a baby crying in distress, loud and close, with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The man physically ducks and slaps the back of his neck, then laughs nervously and mutters something about mosquitoes. That one unscripted, mundane detail is exactly what makes his reaction feel real. A second, more mournful wail rises and fades before the clip goes quiet. In Javanese and Malay traditions, a wailing cry heard in a cemetery at night is often attributed to a kuntilanak, sometimes described as crying loudly to locate its victims, with the direction of the sound said to indicate whether it's near or far. The man's final words, challenging whatever is out there to respond, suggest he hasn't decided to run yet. Whether that's courage or something else is hard to say. The fourth clip brings a teenager outdoors at night on a dirt path, trees swallowing the darkness behind him, speaking casually into the camera while crickets fill the air around him. His demeanor is relaxed at first, hands on hips, gesturing as he talks, completely unaware of what's hanging in the trees directly behind him. Watch closely.
Mak nanduk. Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Tap teman-teman, tap. Apa anak nelayan? Hah? Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam, satu corgi.
A pale, draped humanoid figure hangs motionless among the dark branches, positioned there the entire time as he speaks, highlighted repeatedly while he stays oblivious, until around the halfway point, when something shifts. His tone changes fast. He stops mid-sentence, looks off to his right, then over his shoulder into the black woods, and starts urging whoever's with him to go inside immediately. Hurry, hurry! His voice now raw with urgency. Some viewers suggested the pale shape could be a kain kafan, a burial shroud, referencing the same tradition tied to the pokong from the first clip. The idea being that burial cloth appearing in trees is considered a deeply bad omen in parts of Indonesia and Malaysia. It didn't move the entire time he was standing beneath it. What finally scared him off isn't entirely clear from the footage, but across all 4 of these clips, a figure on a dark path, one standing still between graves, disembodied wailing with no source, and something pale hanging in the trees. What stands out isn't any single moment. It's the pattern, the same region, the same type of figure, the same breathless reaction from people who seem to have no idea what's already right behind them. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. What is it that keeps appearing in the dark, and why does it always seem to be waiting there before anyone even knows to look? The following footage was captured by a home security camera system, the same YE brand setup installed throughout what appears to be a family home, covering both the dining area and the living room. No one was inside at the time, or at least no one visible. The first clip comes from the kitchen and dining space, a well-lit room with a baby-high chair sitting in the walkway, wine glasses hanging on the wall, and the kind of ordinary domestic detail that makes what was caught on the microphone all the more unsettling. Listen closely. At the very start of the recording, before anything else registers, a disembodied whisper cuts through the silence, raspy, slightly distorted, and sounding very much like the words, "Stop it." The room is completely empty. No one walks through the frame, no door opens, nothing shifts. Just that voice, hanging in an otherwise quiet house. Some viewers think it's simply audio interference picked up by the camera's microphone, the kind of electronic artifact that security cameras are known to produce. But others aren't so quick to dismiss it, because a whisper that forms what sounds like words in a room with a baby's high chair sitting in plain view carries a very different weight than random static. That alone is unsettling. The second clip was recorded by another camera in the same home, this one covering the living room at night, with the infrared night vision rendering everything in grainy black and white. A fireplace on the left, a couch on the right, an empty armchair, and an open doorway leading deeper into the house. Watch. A wispy, semi-transparent anomaly materializes near the ceiling above the couch, cloud-like and pale against the dark room. And within a single second, it travels from right to left across the upper portion of the space before vanishing entirely. Skeptics point to insects near the lens as a possible explanation, and that's a fair argument given how infrared cameras can amplify small objects into something that looks far stranger than it is. But the shape and the speed of it are hard to fully account for that way. Some believe what the camera caught was a residual energy moving through the space, the kind of presence that doesn't interact, doesn't respond, just drifts through a room it may have always considered its own. And with that whisper still echoing from the other room, the question isn't just what was seen, it's whether anything in that house was ever truly alone. In this next clip, a man was in the middle of cleaning out what he describes as an abandoned house, dirty floors, old furniture, the kind of place that already puts you on edge just walking through it. It's broad daylight outside, bright natural light cutting through a large window in the main room, so there's no reason yet to feel like something is wrong. He pans the camera across the filthy tile floor, past a dresser, toward a long hallway stretching deeper into the house. The far end of that hallway is swallowed in shadow. Watch.
But I think I see something looking at me through that window. I might be a little delusional.
What appears at the far end of the hallway is a tall, dark, humanoid figure. A solid black silhouette slowly leaning out from behind a doorframe, head and shoulder visible, holding position, peeking directly toward the camera. It doesn't rush, it doesn't retreat, it just stays there, partially exposed, watching. That alone is unsettling enough. What makes it harder to shake is the voiceover. The man's voice stays oddly calm, almost unbothered, saying he might just be a little delusional. Some viewers think that kind of detached delivery is exactly what you'd expect from someone trying to process something their brain isn't ready to accept. Others aren't so sure the house was ever truly abandoned. A few in the comments pointed out that squatters and trespassers in empty properties are far more common than people expect, and a still figure at the end of a dark hallway could just as easily be a living person as anything else. But then there's the shape itself. That slow, deliberate lean out from behind the doorframe, the way it holds the edge like it's deciding whether or not to fully emerge. Some viewers familiar with shadow person reports pointed to exactly that kind of behavior, an entity that exists at the threshold between visible and unseen, never fully revealing itself, as if the act of being partially seen is the whole point. Whether there was someone living in that house who shouldn't have been, or something else entirely occupying that hallway, what would you do if you were the one holding the camera? In this next sequence, we follow a creator named Ryan, who has been dealing with an increasingly exhausting and persistent situation inside his home. For quite some time, he has frequently reported hearing his own name whispered in empty rooms, usually when he is completely alone and going about his daily routine. While working in his workshop and having a casual phone conversation with his aunt, his camera happens to catch a clear, clean audio recording of this exact phenomenon. If you listen closely toward the end of this first clip, a distinct, disembodied voice can be heard whispering a direct message. "I'm sorry, Ryan, it's me."
What you're about to see just happened like an hour ago. Look at this, man. Oh man, we did the Frozen theme. One of my wife's friends flew in from out of state to do the cake. It was great. I miss you guys being there. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. It's okay. How's everything with y'all? Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. He's awesome. Yeah, they always show up. Yeah. I don't know. There's something that's been happening. No one is over here. I don't know if that's. I'm not in it. I'm standing outside of it now. No. Hey, come on, man. Please. I can't keep dealing with this, bro. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. It's me. Lord, it's me.
The activity, however, didn't stop within the walls of his workshop. Days later, Ryan was hosting a live stream to interact with his followers when the presence made itself known once again, this time originating from the outdoor shed on his property. As he streams the dark exterior of his yard, a sharp, clear whispered voice cuts through the quiet night air, caught live on camera.
What the fuck was that? Sorry. Dude. Hold on. Oh my God, come here, right now.
If you listen closely, the entity appears to utter a single, highly distinct word, Ayesh. In Hindu philosophy and linguistic traditions, This term translates directly to a divine or spiritual essence. This opens up an interesting perspective for paranormal analysis. Rather than dealing with a standard localized haunting or a simple residual imprint of a human spirit, this specific vocabulary might suggest the presence of an intelligent, ancient energy or an elemental entity operating on a completely different spiritual frequency. The progression of these vocalizations is also worth noting from an analytical standpoint. The entity moves from simple auditory recognition by whispering Ryan's name to forming a structured, personalized statement of apology, and finally to articulating an abstract, complex philosophical concept outside. This indicates a presence that is highly aware of its environment and potentially trying to define its own nature to the living. So, was this an advanced spirit attempting to communicate its true identity? Or is it an unknown entity merely mimicking profound language to keep Ryan guessing? I'll leave to be the judge. In the following video, a Ring security camera in a seemingly quiet residential neighborhood captures a sequence of events that has left the homeowner, Adam Gibson, in a state of genuine distress. For weeks, Adam had been noticing peculiar movement on his property, fleeting shapes caught in his peripheral vision, and the sound of footsteps when no one else was outside. Initially, he attempted to brush these occurrences off as local wildlife or simple visual tricks, but the frequency began to form a pattern that made him feel as though he was being watched. His suspicions were finally validated when he reviewed his camera's archive. The footage focuses on Adam's driveway during the late hours of the night. Take a look. As you can see, a small, dark shape suddenly materializes on the left side of the frame and darts across toward the right. What makes this manifestation so baffling is its translucent quality. The texture of the pavement is clearly visible through the figure's form as it moves. It doesn't run with the heavy, rhythmic gait of a living person, but rather glides with a fluid, unnatural speed before vanishing into thin air just as it reaches the edge of the frame. Adam shared the footage in a paranormal research group on Facebook, admitting he is now scared because the activity has become so consistent. In paranormal theory, such sightings are often categorized as residual hauntings, echoes of the past that replay under specific conditions. However, the fluid speed has led some to speculate this could be a more sentient entity. Is Adam's yard a corridor for energy from another era, or is a spirit trying to communicate? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the next video, a resident named Jorge Luis captures a sequence that blurs the line between a nightmare and a physical manifestation. Jorge explains that while he has experienced vivid dreams before, this night felt as if something were physically present in the room. He didn't wake up with a clear memory, but his surveillance footage revealed an anomaly that has left him terrified.
Get away. Get away. Get away from me. Help. He's also attacking me. I need help, someone. Help. Help! I'm trapped. I'm trapped. I need out. I need help. Be her hostage. Oh. This is my family. Don't take my family. Take me instead. Let them go.
At the start of the recording, pay close attention to the cross hanging above his bed. In a move that defies logic, the cross slowly rotates until it is completely upside down. This is a sign often cited in paranormal theory as a mocking presence. As Jorge tosses and turns, a dark, shadowy mass begins to coalesce in the corner, far denser than any natural shadow. The most heart-wrenching part of this footage is the audio. Amidst the silence, strange, disembodied whispers fill the room. Caught in the grip of a night terror, Jorge begins to plead for his life, audibly crying out, "Somebody help me, I need help." As if he is being physically overwhelmed, Jorge shared this footage with his followers, admitting that going back through the recording made him feel that something was actually there. The way the environment reacts to his distress, particularly the manipulation of the cross and the chilling vocal captures, suggests an entity that was feeding off his vulnerable state. In the field of paranormal research, this type of activity is often linked to shadow people or night hag phenomena, where an entity doesn't just haunt a space, but actively targets a person's subconscious. Theory suggests these beings act as psychic vampires, provoking extreme terror and pleas for help because they consume the raw emotional energy released during a state of sleep paralysis. Skeptics might look for strings, but the silent rotation of the cross, paired with those desperate pleas, remains baffling. Is Jorge's bedroom a site for spiritual interference? Or did he invite something in that refuses to leave? I'll let you be the judge. In this next clip, we witness a chilling occurrence captured by a young man who was simply trying to enjoy a quiet night at home. While watching a scary video on his computer, he began to notice something that was far more frightening than anything on his screen. His bedroom curtains were moving entirely on their own. Jorge explains that he immediately checked for any logical explanations, but the fans in the room were turned off and there was no discernible draft. But that's not all that happened. Driven by a mix of fear and a need for answers, Jorge finally decided to look outside his window to see if a prowler was responsible for the disturbance. But what he captured on the street below was far more unsettling than a person.
So I'm just chilling in my room. The fans are on. When I was just watching this scary ass video, shadow figure just standing outside, like on the street, and just moved. I have no idea where my curtains are moving. Like, see, none of them were moving. Let's peek outside. Feels like there. That's a street lamp, but what is that underneath it? Cause that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, so I have no idea right now.
In the shadows cast by a flickering street lamp, a dark, stationary figure can be seen standing perfectly still. Jorge notes that this mysterious silhouette was not there just 10 minutes prior, and it seems to watch the house, with an eerie, unblinking intensity. In paranormal theory, this is often described as a watcher. These entities are frequently reported in conjunction with physical disturbances like moving objects or curtains, suggesting they are capable of manifesting enough kinetic energy to interact with the environment from a distance. Whether this was a physical intruder or something far more spectral, the stillness of that figure on the street is enough to make anyone lock their doors. So what do you think? Was Jorge being hunted by a literal shadow, or was this a series of terrifying coincidences? In this next clip, we look at a deeply unsettling series of events captured by a home security camera in the bedroom of a woman named Sam Nicolay. During the early hours of the morning, while Sam was sound asleep, her peaceful night took a dark and heavy turn that would eventually force her to question the safety of her own home. Sam describes experiencing intense, vivid nightmares that night, dreams so oppressive and realistic that she felt a physical weight pressing down on her in the room. When she finally woke up, she felt completely drained, cold, and struck by an overwhelming sense of unease. Driven by a gut feeling that she wasn't actually alone, she decided to check her surveillance footage to see if anything unusual had occurred while she was unconscious. As the footage rolls, pay close attention to the area right beside the bed. A dark, human-shaped shadow can be seen moving with chilling intent. This isn't just a faint trick of the light or a reflection from a passing car. The figure is remarkably dense, standing out clearly against the bedsheets and furniture. The atmosphere in the video feels immediately charged as the entity continues to linger, seemingly watching her while she is in her most vulnerable state. Perhaps the most compelling evidence in this case is that this manifestation was solid enough to actually trigger the camera's motion sensor. In the field of paranormal research, this suggests that the entity had gathered a significant amount of kinetic energy. Many investigators believe that these types of presences are opportunistic, likely feeding off the raw fear and emotional distress Sam was experiencing during her night terrors. On a completely different night, the same terrifying pattern repeated itself. A nightmarish dream followed by a disturbing discovery on the DVR. If you look closely at the background of this third clip, you can see the shadow manifest once more, gliding silently through the room as if it has made itself a permanent, unwanted resident. Many in the paranormal community believe these figures are shadow people. These are often described as interdimensional beings or ancient spirits that thrive in high-stress, emotional environments. They are frequently reported by people suffering from sleep paralysis, leading to the theory that they don't just watch us, they actively provoke terror to sustain their physical form. Whether this was a lingering spirit tied to the property or something more predatory that attached itself to Sam, the sight of a dark figure looming over a sleeping person is the ultimate violation of peace. Was Sam being targeted by an intelligent, malevolent presence, or was this a physical manifestation of her own deep-seated fears? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the next clip, we look at a situation that's as frustrating as it is frightening. A woman recently moved into a new house, and within days, her daughter began hearing an aggressive knocking sound coming from inside the walls of her bedroom. At first, the family tried to brush it off as the usual settling of an old house, but as the activity intensified, it became clear that this was something much more deliberate. The mother asked her daughter to record the audio, and what she recorded is genuinely bone-chilling. In the video, you can see a text overlay explaining the bizarre nature of these sounds. They always happen at night. They move from the exterior walls to the ceiling and back again, and strangely, they never occur when her husband is in the room.
I said, do it again, and it does it again. Do it again. What the? Do it again. One more. Do it again and see what happens. Like, get me out of this. Do it again.
Every time she says, "Do it again," a sharp, rhythmic knocking responds from within the structure of the room. This kind of responsive activity is a classic sign of an intelligent haunting. Unlike a residual haunting, which is more like a psychic recording playing on a loop, an intelligent entity is aware of its surroundings and can interact directly with the living. In the paranormal field, this is often interpreted as a mimic or a poltergeist attempting to establish a line of communication. By responding to her voice, the entity is demonstrating that it isn't just a random mechanical noise, it's something with a will of its own. The mother's exhaustion is evident as she pleads, "Give me a break," yet the knocking persists, louder and more frequent than before. It's a haunting reminder that once you acknowledge a presence, it often becomes more active in its attempts to be heard. What do you think? Is this a spirit trying to tell its story, or something darker, testing the boundaries of its new environment? This next one is a bizarre piece of footage recorded on a phone camera that challenges our understanding of physical boundaries. The scene was captured late on the night after Good Friday in a bedroom bathed in purple light. According to the mother who shared the clip, her daughter witnessed a massive gathering of what she described as thousands of creatures, shapeshifters, and glowing figures walking toward a massive snowbank. This bank of snow is roughly 30 feet high, with absolutely no road or passage behind it. Yet, as the figures reached the bank, they appeared to vanish into thin air. Take a look. you have to look very carefully at the movement across the white expanse of snow. Something runs across the frame so quickly that even slowing it down barely clarifies its form. Perhaps most baffling is the appearance of a car speeding out of the area, despite the snow being far too high for any vehicle to pass, and there being no road in that direction. The daughter believes she was witnessing a portal as the entities and the vehicle simply disappeared upon reaching a certain point. Among the crowd, she reported seeing giant figures, one of which reportedly looked directly into her second-story window. Other creatures appeared to be carrying what looked like newborns under their arms. Because this was recorded on a handheld phone camera rather than a fixed security system, many of the typical explanations like lens flare or infrared dust reflections don't easily apply here. The movement is erratic and seemingly independent of the camera's position. In paranormal theory, areas where multiple entities of different types are seen manifesting and disappearing are often called window areas. These are believed to be spots where the veil between dimensions is thin, allowing various beings to cross into our world momentarily before returning. So what do you think? Was this a rare glimpse into a hidden gateway, or a series of visual anomalies caught in the purple glare? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. The following clip you're about to watch comes from a creator named Reese Royales, whose family rented a cabin for a getaway, only to find out it was heavily haunted. Reese actually noticed the activity first when a kitchen cabinet opened completely on its own. Understandably freaked out, he went to tell the rest of the family, and they all rushed downstairs to see it for themselves. You can feel the nervous tension in the room as they crowd into the dimly lit kitchen, cameras rolling, waiting to see if the anomaly will repeat itself.
Which one is open? Open! Stay away!
Okay, everything. Oh, let me say.
Where's Marcus?
Right here. Right here.
No.
Right now.
Where's Marcus?
See how hard to open that?
Yeah.
He went in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Will it push by itself? Go.
Right.
Right, let's get that.
Right. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Sinong gumagawa nito? Open it right now.
Asan kayo? Nandito kayo?
Nangyayari, dude.
Marami tayo na eh.
Kanina ko yung nag-open.
Is it juice? No. Nakita mo mo. Open! Wala bang ilaw dyan? Bakit pa?
No! Stop!
No, I saw that.
No. It was fucking shaking. It was fucking shaking.
Can we go? What?
Open it!
Oh my God!
Yeah, go.
And as you can see from their terrified reactions, it definitely happens again. The cabinet violently swings open, sending the entire family screaming and scrambling out of the room. So, what exactly might be at play here? In paranormal theory, an entity capable of physically moving heavy objects right in front of a large, active group of people is displaying a massive amount of kinetic energy, often the hallmark of a poltergeist. Poltergeists act like energetic sponges, feeding off high emotion environments. The combined fear, anticipation, and chaotic energy of the whole family rushing downstairs likely gave the entity the exact charge it needed to manifest so aggressively. Now, while the family's panic feels incredibly authentic, several skeptical viewers in the comments were quick to point out the logistics of the room, with one simply asking, "Who was under the cabinet, haha?" Given the camera angle and the dark island counter obscuring the lower half of the frame, it's entirely possible someone was tucked out of sight to push the door open for a viral prank. But whether it's a masterful family setup or a highly charged poltergeist asserting its presence, the sheer panic captured on tape is undeniably effective. What do you think? Was that the work of a poltergeist or just a clever trick? I'll leave you to be the judge. This next clip starts off wholesome enough. A father is just hanging out in a bedroom, filming his young daughter as they play a simple game of catch. The focus is entirely on her having fun, but if you look past the bed to the window in the background, you'll catch a detail that completely ruins the vibe. If you watch the center of the blinds, right behind the little girl, a few of the slats clearly pull apart and dip down. It looks exactly as if someone is standing on the other side, pulling the blinds apart to peek inside the room before suddenly letting them snap back into place. He didn't even notice it until he watched the clip back.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. That one hurt. Okay, you want me to make buckets now?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna catch it.
Oh, you want to catch it and then put it?
Okay.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. Yay! Yeah! You want the small one?
Yeah.
There you go. Oh!
This is too small.
Sorry. It's too small.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. No, almost. I mean, you hit SpongeBob though. Yay! Last one. 3, 1.
No, you should say 3.
Huh? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
You should say 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, go. In the basket.
Go again.
Okay.
When he posted the footage, he explained in his caption that the window was completely shut and he didn't see any physical fingers poking through to manipulate the blinds. Understandably freaked out, he asked his viewers if it could be a ghost. He even mentioned that the grandmother came in to bless the room shortly after they noticed the anomaly, but he admitted he's still feeling pretty uneasy about the whole situation. In paranormal theory, this kind of subtle, voyeuristic activity is incredibly unsettling. Entities will often start their manifestations by simply observing, figuring out the dynamics of the household before making a larger move. The fact that it's focusing its attention right behind a child makes the whole thing feel undeniably predatory. In the second part of this saga, the dad realizes just how crazy the situation actually is. He goes back into the room to investigate and films the setup to prove to everyone that absolutely nobody else was inside with them. He shows the empty room, pointing out exactly where his daughter was sitting on the bed. But then he takes things a step further to debunk any skeptics who might think a prankster was just standing right outside the window.
Right here is the room where it actually happened. Okay. So I was just sitting here with my daughter. Well, she was actually on the bed playing with her toys that she always plays with. All of a sudden, I didn't understand what was going on, because the only way you can move the blinds is if you're inside the room. There's no possible way that someone can move the blinds from the outside of the room. There's no possible way somebody can just come up here and move the blinds from the inside.
He takes his camera outside to film the exterior of the house, and that's when you realize the bedroom window is actually on the second floor. The only way someone is opening those blinds from the outside is if they are over 9 feet tall. It's physically impossible for a normal person to reach that window from the ground, and we already know there was no one else hiding inside the room to do it from the inside. This completely rules out a simple neighborhood prank and firmly pushes this into paranormal territory. But if you think a creepy, peeping ghost is bad, just wait. The next day, he went back to review security footage to see if his cameras caught the detail his own eyes missed in the moment.
Okay, so I might just be rambling, but I just want to bring up security footage, POV from when it happened. I'm just gonna zoom in and you just tell me what you see.
Oh, you got it.
There are no fucking fingers. There are no fingers in the middle of this. Nobody's moving the blinds.
No. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. That one hurt. Okay, you want me to make buckets now?
The only way someone will be able to open that window is from the left to the right side.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. Yay! Yeah! You want the small one?
Even when outside of the house, the only fucking way is from the left to the right. There was no opening in the middle, even on the outside or the inside.
Yeah.
You would need to step on the step inside to get on that.
Yeah. You on the
So
phone?
Yeah.
Go. Oh. Sorry. That's too small. Oh, you got it. No, almost. I mean.
As you can see, the activity doesn't just happen once. The blinds are manipulated twice in a way that feels incredibly rhythmic and deliberate. He even zooms in to show a detail that is frankly a huge red flag. There are absolutely no fingers visible. In a normal prank, you'd see the tips of a hand or at least a shadow blocking the light, but here the slats just separate. Now, here is the logic pivot that really pushes this into paranormal territory. He points out that not only is the bedroom on the second floor, meaning a prankster would need a massive ladder just to reach the glass, but these specific blinds don't even open from the middle. They are a solid unit. For those slats to dip down like that, something has to be applying physical pressure directly to the center of the plastic, a feat that would be impossible for a simple breeze or a shifting foundation. If you thought the voyeuristic behavior with the blinds was unsettling, this next clip proves that the entity is quickly moving out of the observation phase and into something much more aggressive. Same room, same heavy atmosphere, but this time the interaction is a lot more direct. As the homeowner films the bedroom door, it starts to drift open with a slow, agonizing creak that feels entirely too deliberate to be a draft. Just as the door reaches its peak, the lights abruptly cut out, and in the sudden darkness, the door is slammed shut with enough force to make you jump. Of course, skeptics might try to point toward a simple cross breeze or a faulty light switch, but for both events to happen simultaneously is a major red flag. A draft doesn't typically trip a circuit breaker, and an electrical surge doesn't physically pull a door shut. In paranormal research, this is often categorized as a localized energy drain. Entities frequently draw power from electrical systems to fuel physical manifestations. By killing the lights, it's essentially using that surge as a battery to slam the door, making a clear statement that it can control the boundaries of the room. It's moving from being a watcher to a jailer, effectively barricading the homeowner inside his own sanctuary. In this final piece of evidence, we see the real-world consequences of these disturbances on the family. While it's one thing to capture a door slamming or a blind dipping on camera, it's a whole new level of unsettling when a child begins to sense the shift in the house's energy. The dad captured this moment when his young daughter became visibly distressed, repeatedly saying, "Dad, this is so scary." She's clearly hesitant to even step foot in the room where the activity has been most concentrated, essentially treating the doorway like a physical barrier.
So scary. This is so scary. I think it's so scary.
Children are often considered intuitive barometers for a haunting. They are incredibly receptive to shifts in the atmosphere and can often sense an entity's presence long before it manifests physically for an adult. Her refusal to enter the room suggests that the entity has successfully established a territorial hold over the space, making it feel unwelcoming or even predatory to the most vulnerable member of the household. Is this just a child feeding off the nervous energy of her father, or has the room itself become a site of active, intelligent aggression that even she can feel? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions.